This is the Inquisitive Minds Podcast.
Hey, thank you for tuning in to the Inquisitive Minds Podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Smith. With me today, my guest is a political commentator, a conspiracy theorist, and a stand-up comedian, amongst many other things. Please welcome to the program, Trevor Austin. Trevor, how you doing?
Good, man. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. It's a return appearance for you. Episode 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we talked about the moon landing. We debated the moon landing.
I can talk moon landing any day. Dude, I remember the last time I was here. It was like Saturday at noon, and I was drunk. I drank on the show. So a lot has changed, yeah.
Trevor walked in. He's like, I didn't prepare any notes. Let's go. I'll be all right. And shook it out.
But yeah, so that has changed for sure since the last time I was here. I didn't even remember finding the place.
Okay.
Yeah,
That was back in like 2020, 2021.
Yeah, I guess it would have been.
It's 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And can't believe I've been doing this long, albeit with some breaks.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So how's comedy going, man?
Dude, it's been going. I'm really grateful. It's been turning up, getting a lot more shows, getting better shows. And then
you recently opened for
Eddie Bravo and Sam Tripoli, which is like,
Tripoli.
Dude, that's me. You know what I mean?
That's right up your alley.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Like, that's a perfect fit.
It was really cool, man. Being like, I was laughing about it because when I started doing comedy, you were there. Everyone was like calling me a conspiracy theory jackass kind of guy, and I was like, "Who's a jackass now?" I'm hoping for the two biggest conspiracy comedians in the world. You know
what? You deserve a huge congratulations on that, and I want to get back to that. But you know what? Let's jump back because I always ask people about how they started comedy and whatnot. We essentially started around the same time.
Within weeks of each other.
Within weeks, maybe a month or two of each other. And I don't know your full journey, but obviously it was paralleled. And boy, oh boy, when I think about the beginnings, those were rough times.
Crazy to think about
and we didn't realize that they were rough times. But now that I look back, I was like, Jesus, I was really in the mud.
Yeah. It's crazy. I've said it before. Comedy saved my life, and it didn't happen right away. But like, I knew that those were the seeds that were planted to get my life back in order, man. Like, I was drinking every single night when we started comedy, and like, I had nothing. And I swear, if I didn't have comedy, I would have never wound up getting sober. And like, it's the glue to my whole life. But yeah, I started doing comedy, man, because trying to think of, because I always am conscious of what I say because you want to make sure it's publishable on the internet. But I was wanted to unalive myself, as the kids say. Like, it was like this or nothing.
Been there.
Yeah, it was this or nothing. And every close friend I have, stand up comedy. Super Bowl party I was at, 30 stand up comics. Like, it's all I do.
What do you think about, we'll say, your old material and the difference between your current material? Because I'll be honest, I found a recording of mine from 2019. It was the one Giggles and Grub show where it was a competition.
Oh, wow.
I talked about my dick for 12 minutes, dude.
Hey.
Why didn't anybody, I'm sure everybody told me, but I didn't realize that I was doing that like so many others.
Oh, man, I'm 5 years in. I still got a little on my dick. Yeah. It's not a dick-free set. But I started doing the music thing, so it couldn't be more of a change, People still request that sometimes when I get booked, and I'm like, I don't even know if I know the songs anymore.
Oh, man, I know the songs.
Yeah, right? It's like I forget them. I did do it once not too long ago.
When I came back, me and you had that show at an axe throwing place out in like Alliance, Ohio or something like that.
It was one of the last times I did the music.
You know what, though? I was back there singing along.
Oh, hell yeah.
I haven't heard him in, 7-8 months and was singing along. I was like, oh, that's great.
Yeah, I haven't. So my material now, as opposed to then, it's funny, man. I used to see a room of like young people back then, and I'd be like, I'm going to bomb. Because like I was so hung up on like anti-woke stuff, and that's what young people were into. Now I see a room full of older people, and I'm like, I might struggle. And so like I've kind of like a chameleon adapted to the rooms I'm in, because most of the time I'm performing in the city to younger crowds. So that's who I do well with now. That's one thing I noticed that changed for sure.
Okay. I still remember my attitude back then. and I'm pretty sure I said this word for word, if not to you, at least to other people. You know, I'm not a clean comic. My life's just not clean, and I write about my life. Like, I was so fucking in my feelings, edgy and hipster.
Yeah.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Now I just want to talk about shit that's relatable to people.
Yeah, I definitely see that. I mean, I'm still, I'm definitely nowhere near a clean comic, but I can give you a clean 8.5.
I would call you, and I haven't seen a recent set, obviously, but I would call you almost a contrarian comedian.
Yeah,
It wasn't like it was offensive because those were your beliefs and like that you really wanted to teach somebody a lesson during your comedy set. It was just like, oh, women's soccer team won. Horse.
Yeah.
Just to
if
be like,
you tell me I can't say something, I still to this day very much want to say it. I mean, I still look at my notes and all the recent stuff I write. Like a lot of it doesn't make it into the act because I'm like, I can't say it, you know? But the term I heard that I liked as a descriptor was, who the hell said this? We were on a show. Oh, it was Eric Damon. You know Eric, right?
Okay, yeah.
He said to me, so you're kind of like a free speech comedian. And I was like, that's a friendly way to put it. I like that.
That's a very safe way to put it.
Yeah, I'm a free speech comedian, dude.
That's fair. So I'm very curious about this because, you know, I see Eddie Bravo on like Joe Rogan and shit like that. And he's interesting dude, albeit a bit out there.
Yeah, they're both out there as hell.
Did you get to talk to him at all?
Oh, yeah, we talked for a few hours. Spent a lot of really cool guy.
When I saw the poster, in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm never going to see Trevor again. They're going to be best friends, hit it off, and
that was the plan.
Sunset.
That was the plan, man. Now, that green room was wild.
He's going to walk in and be like, moon landing's fake? Fuck yeah, bro. We're out of here.
So the one story that's funny is Eddie and Sam are in there, and I'm hanging with them. And there's like waitresses and bartenders from the venue, and they're kind of like flocking around them because they're famous people, you know, especially in their circle. Like, you know, both been on Rogan a bunch of times. And so they're just like having a conversation with these waitresses, you know, pretty younger ladies, you know, whatever. And they're all giving them so much attention. And they get in this conversation. They start talking about interdimensional demons and
I love it.
And time travelers and stuff.
I love it.
Dude, all these waitresses, they're looking at them and their mouths are dropping. They're like, what is this? I jumped right in. I was like, I was just talking about that. I was just talking about interdimensional demons the other day, you know? So it was cool to be able to jump into any conversation with them. Really cool dudes, man. Eddie Bravo especially was like so kind. It was really cool, man.
That's what's up. I had Mike on here the other day, the pastor. And
I saw that.
Most of his episode was about demons.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I like that guy.
At least, of course.
He's a good dude.
What's not to like?
Yeah, right?
You know, if someone doesn't like Mike, I think they got a problem with him.
Yeah, for
you know
sure.
What I mean? Like, seriously, he's so positive.
Yeah, he was always really funny, too. I wish he would have still been doing stand-up,
You know, life happens.
Yeah, for sure.
But he's got such a positive attitude. He says, you know, God uses broken things and broken people like me, and just because you're dealt a bad hand, you know, doesn't mean you have to give up. And he's lived more than a full life already.
Yeah.
Inspirational. I mean, you guys can listen to the episode. I don't got to keep talking about him.
Yeah.
But you mentioned you became sober during your comedy journey.
Yeah.
Are you free to talk about?
Yeah,
that?
100%.
Okay.
I talk about it all the time. I mean, it's in my act, and
Yeah.
I was always so hesitant to talk about it. And people would ask me why. Like, why don't you ever talk about your addiction issues? And I would, like, kind of with a wink and a nod, be like, because it's still going on.
Yeah.
You know, it's not as funny when you're going to pick up after the show. You know? And I kind of did it as an accountability thing where I was like, I'm going to make this part of my act. It's part of who I am. And, like, God uses broken people to help other people. I can't believe how many people in my life come to me asking for help. Mm-hmm. People who used to carry me out of bars, you know, people who used to take my keys away from me are now coming to me for help and advice. And it kind of blows my mind, but I'm very thankful. That's the most rewarding part of it, is when you feel like you can help someone else in some small way, you know?
Absolutely. What all did you struggle with?
I mean, I've done every drug under the sun.
Okay.
I always say I've done every drug under the sun. My favorite one's Viagra. But I mean, everything I was able to do very recreationally, or at least by my standards recreationally, as other people would say is a little wild, but opiates are what I struggled with the worst, for sure. I mean, it's such a hold on you. And it's funny you use the word demon because I was on Eric Damon's podcast. I talked about this. The closest thing I can ever compare in my own experience to demon possession was opiate addiction. Because it was like I was no longer in control of my executive function. Like I was not calling the plays anymore. I was just like, opiates were the coach. Where do you want me? You know, and I would just go. You know, I was just running the plays.
How'd that start?
How did that start? Well, a lot of people talk about how there's so many people who have the issue with, you know, got an injury, and I wish I could blame it on that. It wasn't my fault, you know.
Broke a leg, the doctor gave me opiates to feel better.
I knew what I was getting into, and
hey, you know what? Don't feel bad. It took me 35 years to start a meth habit.
Yeah, that's wild to me to begin with. I think about that all the time. Because it's just like what a wild one to pick up in the mid-30s, dude.
Yeah,
it's like
that was a wild ride.
Most people in their mid-30s are like, maybe I'll pick up golf. You know?
Well, maybe opiates.
Yeah, right.
You know, you want to chill out. I'm just like, let's go.
So I was about 20 years old, and I had a bunch of friends who were doing it, and I knew this is probably bad news. Mm-hmm. But you know what I mean? Hang out with 4 millionaires. I'll show you who the 5th millionaire is. It's the same thing in the other direction. Like I was hanging out with a bunch of my closest friends who were struggling with that stuff, and slowly but surely I would just try it. And I took like a fish to water, man. I took to it like a fish to water.
I mean, I've done opiates in the past. I've taken various pills and whatnot, and I'm not trying to promote it. I don't want that, but it's a good time.
Oh, they're the
when you're not fucking hooked and it's killing your life.
The first year that I was doing them, I always say, might be the happiest I ever was. And that's like, it's like a Faustian deal with the devil, because I was getting promotions at work and I was happier and healthier, it seemed like, you know, like I would take them and go to the gym at 6 a.m, you know, I had enough money to afford them. And it's just like, there's like a tipping point where it's like a deal with the devil, where all of a sudden, all at once, you realize I have no control over this thing. And in a blink of an eye, I mean, I lost a decade to it, and it's like I always have to remind myself. I'm not a big AA guy, but there's a few passages in the AA stuff. One of them that I always talk about is nothing in God's world happens by mistake. Mm-hmm. I have to believe that, because it's rough to like accept that a decade of my time went to that. Like there has to be something on the other side, helping others, whatever, you know, just my life experience, being able to share that through comedy. There's some reason I went through that, but I'm thankful I made it out the other side, you know?
Yeah, man, not everybody does.
Most don't these days, man, you know? Because you talk about paranormal on this. That's just kind of a segue into this.
Okay.
Because I'm not a big believer in ghosts. I have some good ghost stories from when I was a little kid.
You do?
Yeah, but okay. I'm like,
well, lay 'em out.
As an adult, I look back and I'm like, that had to be just in my head.
You know what?
There's no way.
What we'll do is we'll listen to them here.
Yeah, right.
And then we'll analyze it after.
Yeah, there were little things that would happen. My house is very, very old. So there would be like, one time I had this poster of Michael Jordan, and I went into my room and I showed my friend the poster of Michael Jordan. Like we took note of it. He was like, where'd you get this? You know, we discussed it. We left the room, and then we were like, let's go downstairs. I went back into the room, and the poster was on a different wall where there had been like no nail, no tack or anything. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and we're like, it was like terror, you know? And we sprinted downstairs like something was going to get us. And that was one thing that always like blew my mind. There were things like that. But the most paranormal thing I think I ever experienced was when you knew the guy, my friend Mark, passed away.
Yes.
So, and that was a heavy moment for all of us. And like people knew him from stand up, and people knew him, just like my closest friends were all through him. Mm-hmm. And it was probably 2 days after his funeral, and I fell asleep, woke up at 4 a.m. with the most vivid dream I've ever had in my life, that he was in the room with me, and he came and he had like a message that carried no words. It was just like, I was like, he's trying to tell me something. And I woke up at 4 a.m. and I couldn't fall back asleep, so I went on Facebook. And one of my other buddies had just made a post at 3:59 a.m. about how crazy the dream he just had was, that his friend visited him from beyond. So I wait till the morning and I call our other friend. I'll be like, is this crazy, man? Me and Jimmy both had this dream. And he was like, get out of here. I just had the same dream too. And I was like, what time? It was like 4 a.m. So all three of us, without talking to each other, all like, I mean, that to me seems like too coincidental.
Did you interpret something from that dream?
it's like, I mean, if that's a message from beyond, I don't think that God blessed me with the intelligence to be able to decipher that message, you know?
I really like that answer.
Yeah.
I really like that answer. There's so many people out here that just want to keep going and try and figure something out, but don't know what the fuck they're talking
I have no
about.
idea what that could mean. If I had to take a guess, it was him saying, I wish I were still here with you guys, you know? That's my best guess. And what's really interesting is our fourth friend, who was his closest friend, closer than all of us with him, is the only one of us who's like a malignant atheist. Like, he's like adamant about it, and he did not have the dream. And I found that interesting. Yeah, I found that to be kind of odd, you know?
That's a bit interesting. So you battled this for 10 years. Most people don't stop at their first attempt.
Well, yeah.
When was your first attempt or first shot at rehab? Or?
It depends on what you want to call an attempt. It's like I tried to quit cold turkey on my own probably 100 times. Never made it more than 24 hours. It was like, forget this. The pain you go through when you try to detox yourself from opiates. I mean, people have tried to compare it. I've had COVID. It was way worse than that. The flu, you know, the worst flu you can ever imagine, way worse than that. Because it's that coupled with a panic attack that lasts for 5 days. You know, it's just like sheer nails on a chalkboard for your soul. You know, like.
I've had cellmates in the county.
Oh, yeah.
We're going through hardcore withdrawals, and like, let's take away the vomiting. Let's take away the shitting. Let's take all that away. I remember one guy telling me that he wished he could just launch himself off the top bunk straight into his head.
Yeah.
Just so he could become unconscious. Like, not to kill himself. He
Yeah,
just
you
was
can't.
tired of
you
hurting.
cannot sleep, man. And I remember the very last time that I said I was never going to do this again, and then I did it one more time. But I went like 8 days with a collective, like an aggregate 40 minutes of sleep. And so now you're starting to feel better because you're getting this, you're sweating it out of yourself. But now you just feel like shit because you haven't slept in 8 days. So like now you got another week to try to like pull yourself back together from that. And it is a long and arduous process that I went through probably 7 times to completion. And I would get clean, and I was so adamant about I can still drink, I can still smoke weed, you know, I'll be fine. And some people can do that. For me, the last time I had to say like, I'll do anything it takes. I'll leave everything behind. I've left friends, you know, and I swore I would never do that because I try to be a loyal person. But I was like, this can go on no more. Like I was like, I can never go through this again. And it's April 13th will be 2 years.
Oh, congratulations, man.
So
That's big.
And I never even think about it anymore. And that's the other thing I say. I am a believer in God. I'm not exactly the most religious person. If you come see my stand-up, you'll see. You know, I don't live a life of piety, but I definitely, I always say like that's proof of God to me because I could have never quit on my own. So I don't know what made me stop, but it had to be something greater than myself, which is like that's the whole premise of the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, basically.
Yeah, yeah. I talk about meth, and I say I did quit cold turkey. I walked away from it. But, like, I leave out that I tried to quit it, you know, numerous times. And it was only a 6-month run or whatever, which, long enough to fuck everything up. But
yeah. Like, 6 months in meth years is like 3 years because you're not sleeping. You know, you get days and nights.
Reminisce, not to glorify.
Yeah, 100%.
I remember the first time I smoked meth, I stayed up for 5 days straight.
Yeah.
And the only thing I ate was like a half a cheeseburger. For 5 days, like I was down to 252 pounds.
Yeah,
like it was insane. And once I started that, it was like a freight train.
Yeah,
like there was no gradual slide in. It was all deep end the whole way.
Yeah, I remember seeing you the first week when you came back.
Oh man, Ron talked about that too.
Which Ron?
Ron Renwick.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It was heavy for me because I was probably like 7 months clean or somewhere around there. Yeah. And
because I got over a year in.
Yeah, and Scriva brought you to me like as though like maybe you can talk to him. I was like, what the fuck do you want me to do? You know what I mean? I'm bobbing it with my head barely above the water right now myself, you know.
I mean, I've said it before, but Scriva told me I looked like a zombie when I first came back.
Yeah, man, and I could tell because it was no matter what the drug is, people get caught up on that, man. It's about escapism. Like alcoholics, drug addicts, coke fiends, whatever you're into, you just want out of your own space when you're in that downward spiral, you know? So I definitely saw that of just like, you know, a person who felt like shit drowning, you know what I mean? And all I need to say was like, it gets better, you know what I mean? It does.
It
gets better.
And honestly, at that point, like, yeah, I might be doing a little better as far as like I haven't done anything. Still miserable. Still hate myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Still hate everything. And yeah, it gets better, but the only thing I could do was just keep plowing through.
Yeah.
Like just keep waking up every day being fucking miserable.
Yeah.
And then going about my day.
There's, I forget who has the quote, but they say there's a cure to addiction. You know what it is? It's misery. You know, that's the only way out. You got to just be miserable, and eventually you kind of get used to it, and then all of a sudden it's not so miserable, you know? But that's the cure. There's no easy way out. You got to go through misery.
So my timeline was, I remember I tried to kill myself at one point, was in the hospital for about a week, got out, didn't do it for, you know, maybe a week or so, then jumped right back in.
Yeah.
You know, for a few more weeks. And then just frustration. And then I got kicked out. My sister bought me a plane ticket, you know. Like, and if you're listening and you say, oh, he's talked about this, well, I'm going to.
Yeah.
It was significant shit. And, you know, honestly, without my sister buying that plane ticket, I probably would have been dead by now.
Yeah.
Because even flying back, I still had in my head, you know, hey, I got unfinished business. Come back here too.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily the drug, but the business, quote unquote, that I had. The people or locations all were involved with the drug.
Yeah.
So I would have just fell probably right back into it.
100%, man. It's like those are angels sent, you know? Like I've got a handful of people I owe a forever debt of gratitude to who were just there at the right times to steer me the right direction. And in the moment I'd be mad about it or whatever. But
my biggest benefit was when, like, before I left Pennsylvania, I didn't know anybody who did it. I didn't know anybody involved in it. So when I came back, even the people I knew that weren't like the best characters in society didn't fuck with meth.
Yeah.
So it was easier to like not do it because
it's a real West Coast Southern border vibe. You know, they're all on it down there. It's hot.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, there was a lot more people on meth in Texas than I'd realized.
It's everywhere anywhere along the border cities. San Diego, that's where I found it. Was San Diego.
Okay, I was in Temple, Central Texas.
Yeah. It works its way up.
It was plentiful.
Yeah, it's all over the place out there. And it's in the rural areas too, like, you know, the woods.
Yeah, I hear it's some places up, you know, in the outskirts of Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's more common than that, but I don't need to know.
Yeah. It's but it's all these like diseases of despair, I call it. Like it's just like, you know, a happy, healthy, functioning person does not do that. You know, they don't do any of those things.
Yeah, they don't try it.
Dude, you ever try to like talk to someone who's a very normal person? 'Cause I talk to you about this and I don't really flinch, you know? But if you ever like, especially when you first get out of it, it's like on your head. So I'll like share it with like a sweet, normal person, like an old lady at church or something.
Yeah.
And they're looking at you like you got 3 heads. You know, they're like, what in the world were you doing? You know?
That's the thing I try and put on my podcast voice here to like sound more reasonable. But when I talk to people, if they haven't experienced what I've experienced, the things I bring up in normal conversation, I get these sideways looks like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, it bugs me, man. It bugs me because I'm so far removed from it. And it'll always be a part of me. The way I always word it is like, I may be clean, but I'll never have all the dirt off of me, you know?
Okay.
And there's parts of it that I'm grateful for. I'm calm under pressure. Other people face pressure, and I'm just like, this ain't anything. You know what I mean? I've been through way worse than this, dude. But there's other parts of it where like I'll go out with a group of people who are just like normal, healthy people. Like I remember one of my close friends is a lawyer. I'll hang out with him, and I'll just be like, I'll have this overwhelming feeling, almost like a cold drop of sweat down my neck of like, I don't belong here with these freaks, you know?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm the freak, you know? And that's what's so great about anytime I was in rehab or amongst like some of the comics have this vibe. Everywhere I go in normal society, I feel like a zebra amongst horses. I kind of look like the rest of you guys. You wouldn't be able to tell if you didn't know, but I got these damn stripes, And around comics or in an AA meeting or around people who get it, I'm like, oh, look at all these fucking zebras, Thank God. And I'm grateful for that. You know what I mean? People need to feel like they belong.
I get that, man. I definitely get that feeling. And I get it a little more like visually. Because, like, I look like a fucking hot mess.
You got all your tattoos.
I got tattoos, fucking teeth, scraggly ass beard. I'm just like, I'm here. So I like people look at me.
Yeah,
and just make crazy assumptions. That was one of my biggest beefs.
I bet.
When I started comedy. Because remember, I had the longer hair, and people didn't fuck with me for a while just because
I remember
they
that.
had assumed I was a certain way, and I was like, that's what y'all motherfuckers don't want us to do, but that's what you did to me.
Yeah, I clicked with you right away.
Yeah.
I remember. I forgot about the long hair. Yeah, you did look crazy, dude. You had the ponytail, plus like it was receding a little. And I was like, it was like George Carlin.
I was like a dangerous Paul Heyman.
Yeah. And
I was confrontational. Like I don't think I'm like confrontational like I want to fight.
Yeah.
But I have the confidence that I'm like, well, if we have something to talk about,
you're
let's
assertive.
talk about it.
You're assertive, not confrontational. Yeah.
Okay.
And I try to be that way myself. I mean,
yeah, man. So many things get lost in translation when you could just speak directly to the person and work out whatever issue.
Yeah, and it's crazy how hard that can be sometimes. When people are on different wavelengths and. I sometimes need to be more like, I don't know what the opposite of assertive is, like submissive. Like there are times where I'm too assertive, because I just cut through the bullshit,
Oh, God. I was at work the other day. Okay. Let me see how I phrase this to not get anybody or myself in trouble.
Yeah.
And one of my supervisors called me and another coworker out back to speak with us.
Yeah.
Said, do you know what this is about? No fucking clue. There was another coworker that said the other coworker with me was cold to them, and the supervisor said you, and meaning me, weren't mentioned in the conversation, but I know you hang out with this person, so I'm talking to you about this. And at one point, I had my shirt off out back because, like, it kind of escalated because, like, so someone was rude to someone else. And I got talked to about it.
Yeah.
Like,
I was just thinking the same thing. I was like, wait.
What the fuck are we talking about?
Am I my brother's keeper,
But then, like, I was like, okay, you don't need to go and be stupid like this and calm down. But, like, sometimes I just go from 0 to 60 and I don't fucking mean to.
Dude, I always say this, too. Now, this has officially become an AA meeting, but I always talk about this where my first thought is the thought of an alcoholic or a drug addict. Like, my reaction I want to do is like, he said, what about me? Get him in front of me right now, right?
You think you're better than me.
My second thought is that of just a natural asshole of like, don't worry, I'll get him back. Give me some time, And it's like my third thought that I have to wait for that is a sane person who can fit in polite society. And it's that third thought that I'll be like, you know what, this really doesn't matter the way I'm making it matter or whatever the situation may be. It's my third thought that I got to wait for. And I'm constantly reminding myself of like, this is not who you are, not who you are anymore, not who you have to be. Like,
yeah.
And like, that's the second thought. The third thought is even more sane,
Yeah. I constantly tell myself, you don't have to be like this. You don't have to be crazy. Like, furthermore, I'm a bigger guy.
Yeah,
I'm not a giant, but I'm a big enough guy to get shot easily.
Well, yeah, right.
Like, oh, this guy, boom.
And you're just liable to intimidate the shit out of someone when you didn't even mean to. Like, you're just like, this is how I express myself.
I've had that too many times. I talk a lot of, I don't talk a lot of shit, but I talk about the time in Texas, and it was a nightmare. It was one of the worst times of my life. But I did learn one lesson that I can recall from down there. I remember someone asking me about my aggression at the time. I think I've smoothed over quite a bit. And I realized that I was so aggressive because I felt like that was the only way to survive.
Yeah.
You know, like growing up and having to be blah, blah, blah. Like I didn't have any backup.
Yeah.
And I've realized over time, I don't have to be that anymore.
No.
You know, but the negative end of that is now that I feel like I'm not that, and when I'm assertive and I bring something up, a lot of times people are so intimidated by that they see it as aggression instead of just being clear and direct.
Yeah.
And I get myself in this mindset, oh, I wasn't aggressive. If they want to see aggressive, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I think that same thing, man, is like if you only knew how far left this thing can turn, if you only knew how much this curveball could break, if I really wanted to put a little spin on her.
That's,
you know?
I feel that way constantly.
Yeah.
And even like with normal coworkers and hearing about their problems.
Yeah.
I'm like, sir, you don't know what fucking bad is.
Yeah,
lady.
yeah.
Like,
I think about that too, man. And I really have to try to soften my heart because it's like to this person that is bad, you know? Like,
yeah, well, I think it's,
not everybody has to.
The worst thing you've ever experienced is still the worst thing you've ever experienced. So
Yeah,
even if
yeah.
it's a hangnail, it's still the worst.
It's like
experience
I
they've
always
had.
use the analogy. It's like talking to a 5-year-old whose cat just died, and like they're crying uncontrollably, and you want to be like, "You'll be fucking fine, kid." You know what I mean? Someday your parents are gonna die, kid.
This episode has been sponsored by Goat Grinder. Right now, go to goatgrinder.com, enter in IM20 to get 20% off your order.
All right, hey everybody. My name's Ron. I'm the owner of Coke Grinder, and this is the Inquisitive Minds podcast. We're sponsoring this forever now. We're gonna give Johnny $1 million, so everybody watch this. No, I'm kidding. Anyways, so it's grinder, sifter in a mason jar. It's this is your pressure band, keeps it all together. It's your top grinder, bottom grinder. When you're ready to grind up, slip it on there, give it a snug, throw in, I don't know, whatever you want, and then off center post so you don't smash everything in the middle. And then all your junk will fall into this handy dandy sifter, and then everything else will fall in here. I use it to make relish. So what happens is when I grind up all you get all your pickle stuff in here, but then, you don't have to have a fucking juicy hot dog. You dump out that extra sauce. And they do fit on larger regular mouth mason jars. I would sell them for $75. Someday I'll raise the price, but for now they're $75. I started out at $90, and then I came down. I should have stayed at fucking $90. I don't know why I'm giving everybody a break.
You don't want to say that to them.
I take it worse because I mean, my personal experiences.
Yeah.
And like I'll just rip it up and like I remember at one time somebody was like, "Oh, I think my aunt's gonna die. I don't know how to move." And I was like, "My wife fucking died in my arms.
Yeah.
Don't come to me for sympathy." Like, and that's not.
Yeah,
It's not a human reaction. That's not a no one wants
maybe
the
it's
asshole.
a superhuman reaction, but like
I've
try to
learned to
be
be more
better than a
compassionate.
human. Yeah,
Yeah,
you know what I
like-
mean? Like,
I was lacking compassion.
yeah.
And
Humans are still chimpanzees at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like in the big picture, we're just chimps who shave.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah,
And,
some of us shave.
So it's those real human moments where you can show compassion. That like that's a higher state of evolution. Like I feel like it's almost beyond where we were even meant to go. Like you leave us to our own devices, we're gonna be flinging our shit off the walls. You know what I mean? Like
that's been my goal is to be more compassionate.
I thought you meant to start flinging your shit off the
Throwing
walls.
shit at people. I'm disgusted
Yeah.
by shit. If somebody hit me with shit,
Yeah, right.
I would turn into the biggest bitch. I'd
You got to be getting used to it with a baby, man.
Oh my god, both of them shit real bad today, and I tagged in Stephanie for help.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
just
right.
so disgusted.
No, that's crazy though.
Oh, as compassionate I want to be, and I want to ask you about this. Do you still find yourself having, and as I'll say, piece of shit thoughts?
Oh God, dude, it's my baseline.
Okay.
It's my baseline, dude, and I think about that because people will talk about how brash I am, like in stand-up. They'll say, like, "Man, you get away with saying stuff that I would never even dream of saying," or like off stage, especially. I've learned how to curate the act to like, this is passable. I'm trying to work in comedy, you know.
Yeah.
But
the offstage shit is wild.
off stage, I pull zero punches. Like I'm going for the cheapest laugh, the darkest joke, the sickest thing you can think of, and then I try to explain to people, you should hear the shit that doesn't come out. You know what I mean? Like some of it's still censored in there. So like, yeah, it's like I don't know how to describe it, whether it's like a darkness or if it just comes from a place of like, I feel like everybody thinks that way if they're ruthlessly honest with themselves.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. You know, that's my contention.
I've had a lot of thoughts about robbery.
Yeah.
Like I've looked at people and just been like, I could have robbed you.
I think that a lot too, man.
Like,
if you've ever robbed somebody, I think that that's a door not everybody's open, so you're not supposed to open it. Okay. But like there are times where I'll like be even just walking to the car with like another comedian friend, and I'll be like, dude, we are sitting ducks right now. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, if I was someone else, I would rob us.
I've looked at too many people and had the negative thought of, I don't even need a gun to rob you. You know, just that
100%. Yeah.
just that terrible thought.
No, I get it though. That's funny.
So I don't know when do you think was the first time you went to rehab?
I went for the first time at age 25.
Okay.
It was a lake up in New York, upstate New York. Beautiful place. And I was like, did not take it seriously enough.
And full disclosure, I've never had the rehab experience.
Yeah.
And I'm actually very curious about it.
I'll tell you what, man. So the first time I went,
It sounds like a nice place, by the way.
oh, I've been to a couple really nice places. Some of them are not so great stops on the map, you know? Like some of them are like, oh, we're going to ride horses and finger paint. This is a great little break, you know? So sometimes, but I didn't take it seriously enough. And not that, and by that, I don't mean I didn't want to get sober. I was like, I got this, you know? I'm going to be sober. I checked into rehab. Finally, the nightmare's over. And I didn't realize how much work it was going to have to be. You don't just go and now you're better. A lot of people give rehab a bad name. It's like it doesn't work. It's like, no, it works. People don't work, you know?
I mean, every addict knows you're not going to stop unless you want to stop.
Yeah.
Until you're ready to stop.
And even then, it's hard,
Yeah.
you know? Even then, it takes this, like, submission to, like, I can't figure this out on my own. I'm willing to take any advice, any help. It's like you have to really humble yourself to be like, I don't have the answers. If I did, I would have enacted them on my own years ago, you know? So, yeah, I say I spent a good portion of my 20s, almost the whole damn thing, getting high. The happiest memories of my 20s, and this is like, it's depressing. It is, yeah, it's depressing. The happiest memories of my 20s came in rehab. I made some very close friendships, people I still talk to today, had some of the hardest laughs you've ever had, because everyone in there is in this same place of just like complete and total defeat, you know?
Can you walk me through it a little bit? Obviously, you come in fresh from using drugs.
Yeah.
What's the detox like, or what's the situation like?
Here's my rule number one in rehab: go in there high as shit. Because
I've heard
there's
that
so
from many
much
people.
paperwork, dude. You want to be lit for the paperwork.
I mean, you're already going in there for that reason.
yeah, exactly. And they know
Well, they're
it.
going to be mad you're high?
Yeah, they know what
I
time
can't
it is.
stop. Like,
Yeah.
Not to make light of it.
Yeah, the funniest story, my one friend he was smoking a blunt on his way in, and the staff came out to like greet him and bring him in, and they were like, you can't smoke that here. And the kid just goes, where do you want me to smoke it then? Like, it was like, because it's going, you know, like,
Yeah.
so, yeah, you check in there, you're lit off your ass. So like night one doesn't even count, you know, like you wake up, you're like, how did I get, I got so high, I accidentally went to rehab, you know, you're like, this is not good. And then the next 7 days, they'll try to give you comfort meds. If you're blessed and you're in a fortunate place, they'll work. And the first 7 days are usually spent in a pretty heavy sedation from that. If you're beyond screwed, like I have been so many times, there's nothing they can give you that's going to make it better. And it's the most traumatizing experiences of my life, where that like helplessness, there's nothing you can do. You're violently ill. And like for me, I never really had like physical illness as bad as like mental illness. Like the depression is darker than you can even imagine. You're not sleeping. You're just like, the anxiety is through the roof. And I went so many times. I used to have the joke of like, I'm like Tom Brady in there, you know? It's like watching Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Even the staff was like, can't we get somebody different this year? He's in here every year.
Okay.
And by the last time I went, I kind of knew the routine so well. And I remember telling myself, instead of being so miserable that you're here, be so grateful. Look around these walls. This is your last chance to get better. This is the best place in the world for you right now. And they actually invited me back to speak at my rehab probably 6 months ago. And
That's incredible.
it was incredible. I used to watch guys do that and think that'll never be me. And I remember I walked in. This is like a really nice story. I walked in there, same place I spent about 3 months in trying to get dried out and clean. And I walked through the cafeteria that I ate in every day. And like I said to one of the staffers who remembered me, I said, it's crazy how different this place is. And they were like, it's literally the same. And I almost had a tear to my eye when I thought, it looks a lot different when your head's held high. You know, like my head was on my shoes the whole time. Like the place seemed smaller. It seemed just so different, you know? And I was able to walk in there and think like, it was just a whole different experience. It was real surreal, you know?
Now these like your rehab stints, were they mandated? Were they voluntary?
A little bit of both.
Little from column A, little from column B.
I would check in on my own. Like one time I had charges pending, so I knew that like I better show up to court with a certificate, So like
Okay.
it was voluntary. Nobody dragged me in there, but also I knew I better get to it.
Better do something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were always, or family would force me to go a lot of times. And I never really put up too much of a fight because I'm a good arguer. I always have been a good debater. And when I looked at the overall debate, I was like, I don't really have a leg to stand on here. Like there's not much you can say. Like, don't worry, I'm fine. Like it was like, yeah, you're right, I got to go.
I know you're a somewhat private person as far as like your family's concerned.
Mm-hmm.
You keep that behind closed doors. So without like exposing too many details.
Yeah.
Can you just touch on like how your usage impacted your family?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I don't talk about my family much for their sake. I don't really give a shit. But
well, whatever the reason, respect
in
your
the
privacy.
moment. In the moment, you don't. The thing about addiction that is so insidious is it makes you so intensely selfish. So in the moment, and by the moment I mean for like a decade long, I couldn't even see what it was doing to anyone else around me. They would tell me outright to my face, this is killing me. You're taking years off your parents' lives. Your brothers are devastated. They miss the person they knew, And you hear it, you don't really digest it, and it's just like, whatever, man, I got to take care of me because like you're so afraid of not having what you think is keeping you alive. That drug that's killing you, you think it's keeping you alive. And you will step over a pile of bodies to get to it. And in hindsight, it's really interesting for me to relive those moments. And I was disassociated through most of that process, which I guess I'm blessed for because it's so dark. But yeah, you're absolutely killing the people around you. I've had it where now I see some of my friends struggle, and I'm like, man, this is hurting me to watch them hurt. And then I have to put it together. The next piece of like, imagine the people who love me, what I put them through, It's, yeah, I mean, it's such a scourge, and
I mean, some of this too is just basic common knowledge if you ask around. But like, I don't know. My hope is maybe somebody struggling or one day some kid going through something listens to this and like gets inspired or something sparks in them that helps them. So
all you can do is share your story. You know what I mean? There's so many people. And then I think I get frustrated sometimes because I'm like, let's say you do save somebody. It's pissing on a forest fire. There's 10 more falling apart, you know? It seems like that. That's not, the right attitude to have. I have definitely walked a lot of people through the process of helping them get sober. I've sent people to rehab and seen some do great, seen some fall off. You can't really... I never try to put expectations on it because I know how many times it took me,
Yeah. That's the hard thing too. Like everyone wants to say just stop.
Yeah.
Just stop. Like it's that easy.
I always thought that. Once, like I told you when I went to rehab, I was like, finally it's over. I'm just going to stop. And even now that I have stopped for 2 full years, I am constantly reminded I'm the type of person still who would do that, like I did those things, every day I'm mindful and I'm on top of not doing them again.
Okay.
But I'm still that same guy who's like capable of, if I'm not on my shit, that's why I don't touch alcohol. I don't touch anything ever because I know I got no brake pedal, man. Like,
I can understand that.
I'm just flying downhill, dude. If I even put a little bit of gas on a fire, it's gonna take 10 more years to put it back out.
Hey, man, as long as you're staying away from it. And like I said, this is for help, potentially helping someone in the future. But like, can you describe your relationships with your family now? Roughly 2 years after being sober versus before then. How much have you been able to heal and grow?
Well, I was blessed with a very supportive family. Like they told me many times they were going to give up on me. I always tell the joke of like, my family never gave up on me, but they never gave up on me the same way we never give up on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Like, hey, this is going to be the year. Is it though? So they never really gave up on me. But I could tell that very last time I checked in, and I'd been there 7 times, and it was like, The phone calls get less. There's no visits, you know. I felt like they didn't expect this to work, you know, and that was a really different place for me to be in. And I'll tell you what, not everything comes back. There are relationships that'll never be right again. There are people who have seen me at my lows that'll probably always see me at, you know, I would hate to judge anyone by their lowest moment, but I know there's people out there that will judge me by my lowest.
Absolutely.
My family, sometimes I think about it, it's almost like it never happened, which is probably their own coping mechanism of like, why would I want to sit in that place? Let's sit in the place we're in now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But it never even comes up. Sometimes I have to remind them, like, you know, it'll be 2 years coming up. You know what I mean? And I'm just so blessed and lucky. You know what I mean? I own a home. I got a dog. You know what I mean? I got things going in the right way. Like, I couldn't have kept a plant alive, you know, 2 years ago. Yeah. You know, it's just really nice to my life now. In AA, one of the things they call it the promises of the program, and one of the things they talk about is you'll be promised a life beyond your wildest dreams. And I used to hear that while sipping my AA coffee and just kind of going through the motions. I'm like, yeah, you recite it because they make you memorize all this shit. And I never really looked at that sentence, and they're not saying like all your dreams will come true. Like the key word in there is beyond your wildest dreams. And I'm slowly starting to see that happen. Like, if I would never be opening for National Comics. Like, I got it on April 13th. It's my 2 years sober. Buy tickets. I don't know if I can post a link or whatever. Dov Davidov's coming, who's like one of my favorite comics. He's fantastic. I'll be hosting and opening up the show for him, 2 shows. Like, it's just really like everyday things that I know I would have never got done. They come true. I'm just couldn't be more blessed.
Well, congratulations, man, and I'm proud of you.
Hell yeah, bro.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome because, like, I've seen you struggle. You know, like I was there for many a night, and then being in the scene. On top of that, the things you don't see, you hear stories about and whatnot. You know, and some of it's rumor, some of it's not. It doesn't even matter to like clarify because who fucking cares at that point. But like seeing you now, man, you're in such a good place. 2 years, like I'm fucking thrilled.
Dude,
I'm so happy for you.
I had somebody come up to me not too long ago, and they were basically like hunting for an apology, you know, and they were like, I just kind of want to, I don't know if like you remember this thing that you did, and they told me the thing that I did. And
did you do the thing?
Well, I was like, I'm going to be real with you. I don't remember, but I'm going to apologize because that is some shit I probably did. You know, I had no memory of it. I was like, I am sorry that I probably did that. You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes I just have to like kind of take that. Like, if somebody walks up to me on the street and punches me in the face, like my reaction has to be like, probably deserve that one. You know, somewhere along the line.
Yeah, I've taken a lot of L's. I've earned a lot of them.
I always give a shout out to Mike Bosco, man. Talk about a salt of the earth guy, and he was booking me on stuff when I was at my worst. There was a couple things I didn't show up for. There's a couple things I did show up for that I probably shouldn't have, you know, showed up there, eyes baggy, talking out of my neck, just insane, you know. I think one night I even asked him for more money, you know, just like being, and I remember the day I got back out, and this is the second time I went since I was in comedy, right on the phone. He was like, I got something for you on the 25th or whatever, if you want to come out. And I was just without hesitation. I was like, that I will always have his back for that. Like that, I bring it up often in conversation how much that guy had my back. I really appreciate it, you know.
Shout out to Mike Bosco.
Hell yeah, dude.
I see he's doing some bigger shows and whatnot.
Dude, Bosco's making more than all of us out here
right now.
Yeah, he's with John Knight, takes care of him real good. Wolfie takes care of him real good. So
Wolfie's good people.
Wolfie's the man.
Love
dude.
Wolfie. I don't really know John Knight. I don't have anything bad to say about him.
It's hard to find
shout
that
out
guy.
to John Knight.
Yeah, he's on his own plane. You got to take his class if you want to know him.
But Wolfie, one of the first shows I did when I came back from Texas was on.
Yeah.
You know, he's always been nothing but a great guy.
Bro, you went on right before me at that show in West Virginia, and like I will say, I struggled that night. It was just a rowdy room, and like they were kind of done with comedy by the time I got up there. But you crushed for 20 minutes, which is not easy to do.
I did a half hour that night.
Yeah, 30 minutes after a layoff of 2 years, and not your average
like
layoff.
A 6-month layoff.
Yeah, really?
Layoff.
That's all that was?
Yeah, it just felt
well,
so
like
long.
I keep saying, in meth years, bro. 6 months is 2 years in meth because you don't sleep. Those are extra days you're racking up.
Insane.
Yeah, it's extra days.
And like, I don't know. We'll move on from this, but I just get so down on myself thinking about it. It's like, oh, you piece of shit. What have you done?
Hey, everything in God's world happens, but for a reason. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel blessed now.
yeah.
You know, got my babies.
Yeah, that's wild, dude.
You're telling me, dude.
That's wild. You
You're
made people.
telling me.
You made people.
I never thought it was possible.
I know you told me that, dude.
Like, I never.
I've been banking on that myself.
And then I got this little beautiful baby girl, man.
Crazy, man.
And, like, I wanted a daddy's girl. Like, obviously, I guess every dad kind of wants that. But she is hardcore. Like, sometimes she don't want shit to do with her mother.
Yeah.
Swing. She's fed. She's changed everything. She just wants to sit with me and stay with. And like the biggest smiles.
Yeah.
She's starting to laugh. Like it's so fucking rewarding. I didn't even want kids for the longest time.
I know.
Let alone think it was possible. And then when this came up, changed my world forever. But it's been so beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. Dude,
and now I have to be responsible.
If an angel could have flown down into the Smiling Moose on the south side watching us do our second open mic together and said, like, here's where things are going to be 5 years from today.
Yeah.
Like, I would just be like, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's crazy the way life throws shit at you, you know?
Yeah, I talked about it not too long ago with Loke. He was on.
Oh, hell yeah.
I was talking about my first show that you were on up at Bites.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just.
Howie D. Mack,
Yeah,
rest in peace,
rest
was
in
on
peace
that.
to Howie. You know, just a wild start, man.
Yeah.
And we. How do I say this? Because I want to be politically correct. Me and you specifically navigated a little bit differently in the comedy scene.
100%.
Because it was, you know, a different dynamic.
Yeah.
You know? I don't want to use the word gatekeepers because I hate that. But it was just, you know.
Some dudes have to
proper
pave their
route.
own path.
And, yeah, we had to go out. I remember doing a lot of hood clubs.
A lot of hood shows, man.
A lot of, like, Ohio stuff.
Oh, yeah,
That
West
was,
Virginia,
you know,
Ohio,
just
yeah.
Newcastle, just scooping up whatever I could just to get experience. And then, you know, you find success and you find what you're doing.
Dude, I've worked hard to be one of the quote-unquote mainstream people. And, you know.
You had a very hard road.
Yeah.
You were like the scourge
I
of
know,
the comedy
I
scene
know.
for a while. Because these super woke people that had more sway than they may have now.
And I wasn't smart with them. I made enemies out of them.
Well, they didn't know you.
I'm
like-
friends with most of them to this day.
That's the thing.
You know?
If they would have known you,
Yeah.
instead of like, oh, he said women should stay in the kitchen.
Yeah, right.
We hate him now.
Hate.
Like you were
And,
disgusted by
and
it.
they hated me worse. They didn't hate me because I said that. They hated me extra because it would work. And people were laughing. They didn't like that at
You would
all.
bring that guitar out
Yeah.
and shut down a fucking open mic.
Yeah, they hated it.
And they were like, this misogynistic piece of shit. Like,
And like over time, I've
it's not
really-
funny. They just, he's got a guitar and says, fuck you.
And I've tried to slowly like really curate myself and like I try to be friendly with everyone and I'm still the same guy.
Yeah.
But like I always say I'm like an annoying commercial jingle. Like you hear me enough times, I'll get stuck in your head. I just didn't go away.
Lennon.
Yeah, right.
Trevor Austin.
I just wouldn't go away, and now it's like, hey, he's here. We might as well deal with him. You know?
No, that's fair, man. You definitely earned your stripes out here.
Yeah.
And it's good to see you finding so much success right now. Before we get out of here,
Yeah.
because this was turned into a more serious episode, which is
Yeah,
great.
which is cool.
Because I love talking to people that have been to the other side and came out, you know, still speckled with shit but washed off, to paraphrase. Let's have a little bit of fun, man.
All right.
You got a little conspiracy for me? You got something fun for the
I've been
people out
trying hard to get off the conspiracies because they're so toxic to me. Because I'm a sharer.
Yeah.
So like if something comes up, I'm quick to be like, you know what's really happening, you know. And I always say I believe them all. And do I really? No, but it's a more fun world to live in, you know? Like, do you want to live in a world where politicians are just corrupt and kind of sticking it to the working man? Or do you want to live in a world where politicians are drinking the blood of children up on some mountain wearing elk masks?
Yeah.
That's more fun to me,
Yeah, it's
you know? So,
It's definitely more fun.
yeah, I go that route. But I've always been a purist, you know what I mean? Like moon landing, JFK, you know, I stick to the basic ones.
Yeah.
Because once you tell people about those, if you're into that stuff, like other people watch Marvel movies. That shit's fake, you know?
Yeah.
I watch conspiracy theories. Maybe it's fake. It's fun, you know?
Okay. My favorite is Birds Aren't Real.
Birds Aren't Real is
That's my
that's a
fucking
troll one,
favorite
right?
one.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
although I saw a guy at the NFL Combine. You know, he's interviewing for $1 million job as an NFL player, and they asked him something, and he starts going off on this tangent. And he was like, "You got to think about it. Maybe the power lines. You never seen a pigeon sleeping. Maybe the power lines are just charging stations for the birds." He was dead ass serious, dude.
I love it, man. I had somebody at work have a conversation. I was over here, and they said, "I've never seen a baby pigeon." Blah blah blah. From living in the city my whole life, I've had pigeon nests outside my window at multiple locations, and I've seen baby pigeons. It's just so absurd that someone says that. Like,
Yeah.
like, I've never seen them, so they can't be real.
The other one that's fun is the cloning.
Okay.
Cloning is fun because they say Dave Chappelle's been replaced. Avril Lavigne's a big
Eminem.
one. Eminem's been replaced. They got him.
Yeah,
that
they
makes
got
sense.
Eminem, Kanye.
That makes sense too. But why would they bring back this Kanye? If they were going to clone him, you think they would have made a different
For
version.
a while, you were almost kind of looked at like the Kanye West of 2023.
Oh, that's the sweetest thing anybody ever said to me, dude. I fucking love Kanye, dude. I like loud, abrasive people, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't support most of what he says.
Yeah.
But I love that he's saying it.
Yeah, it's just like I like
love
a
that
guy.
he's making his own way. Like,
He's got edge to him. I like that.
I love the fact that he was too much for the Alex Jones interview.
Oh, that's one of the funniest things ever, dude.
You got Alex Jones going, let's go to a break.
Dude, I made a meme about that because it was Alex Jones looking at Kanye like, cool it. And I was like, that's me at Parkway Theater when I tell someone, you can say whatever you want. And then they start going off. I'm like, well, you can't say that. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Alex Jones at the Parkway often where I'm like, yeah, say whatever you want, man. No content restrictions. Then some dude gets up there and goes like way into the weeds. I'm like, no, cool it. You know?
Starts Holocaust denying.
Yeah, right.
But legitimately Holocaust
Oh,
denying.
dude, you see the
Yeah.
Parkway is still like that, man.
Yeah.
It's wild, dude.
I got to get back there.
Yeah, it's wild Friday night. And I'll tell you what, it's the best when it's cold out or raining. That's when to hit it there because nobody's hanging out on the porch. They're all inside. So
I've spent many nights at Parkway seeing some of the wildest people imaginable. People getting kicked out.
yeah, we have
Like,
kicked somebody out Friday night.
I don't know if cross-dresser is the right term, but I don't know what some people are or identify as, but like obnoxious, crazy cross-dressers in there,
Yeah,
like
you'll
heckling
see.
everybody.
Oh, that's. I think that
drunk
person still
homeless
comes.
people screaming at you.
The drunk. Oh yeah, that guy. I just saw him on Friday night, dude. Like, he lives right next to the theater.
Yeah.
So anytime I walk down, dude, I'm walking down the street. He must have seen me out his window. He popped his head out and he yells out. He always yells out a homophobic slur at me. So literally, I'm just walking from my car to the theater. Haven't seen a guy in 4 months. Pops his head out the door and screams, "Hey, there's that." And
Yeah.
I was like, and he's doing it in like a friendly way, like he's like waving hello, yelling the other F word at me.
gosh.
I just waved. I was like, "How you doing, man?"
Yeah, I've seen him get kicked out a few times.
I saw him get tased.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got tased by the police. Yeah,
Oh, man. Wild stuff there.
yeah.
I tell you what, before we get out of here, I'm going to ask you for a piece. I like to ask the guest for a piece of advice for anyone listening out there. And it doesn't have to be about comedy. It doesn't have to be about anything specific. But what piece of advice could you give to someone who's out there listening?
That's such a hard question because here's the advice I'll give. Ask questions and listen, you know, because what advice do I want to give is I don't know what you're going through. You know what I mean? So maybe take the time to listen to somebody else. That's the only way you're ever going to be able to give any advice anyways, you know? You never know what someone else is going through. And I'm not always the best at it. I'm hesitant sometimes to give people like, you know, the benefit of the doubt. But there were definitely times in my life where I was walking around looking like another horse, but I was just a zebra, you know, like people don't necessarily see your stripes and what you're going through. So, you know, be slow to judge and quick to listen, you know?
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's solid advice.
That's as good as I can come up with on a whim, dude. I wish I would have come in here with a goddamn proverb if you'd have given me a text on that. But
That's the beauty
that's
of
the
it,
best
though,
I
you
got,
know?
yeah.
I want it fresh off your head.
Yeah, off the top, that's what I can say, man. Listen to people, hear what they have to say.
Now, this question, think about this for a moment, because so many comics especially, I get them in here, ask this question, and they're like, I don't have a clue.
Okay.
And it drives me up a fucking wall. Promo yourself, Trevor. where you at?
Oh,
Where can they find
I
you?
thought you were going to say Israel or Palestine. I was like, oh, nobody has a clue.
No, promo yourself. Where you at? Where can they find you?
Trevor Austin Comedy on TikTok, Instagram, and most importantly, YouTube. I'm trying to grow that right now. So Trevor Austin Comedy. It's usually one word on all the platforms. You search it, it'll come up. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And April 13th, opening for Dov Davidov. I don't know when this will be out. I got shows Friday,
Should be out
Saturday.
before that.
But yeah, if you go on the socials, I post where I'm at all the time. You'll see show promos. But April 13th is a really big one. That'll be my 2 years sober. And Dov Davidoff is one of my favorite comics. Dude is hilarious. So, yeah, that'll be at Low Lev Brewing in Lawrenceville. It's like a cool group of guys I work with. Definitely get tickets to that. That is going to be a killer show. It's one of the coolest independent comedy shows you get to see in Pittsburgh, are those Low Lev Brewing shows. So,
Have you ever, or have you thought about venturing into promotion? Like, you know how we all used to set up our own little shows here and there?
yeah. I've got some really big things in the works that I'm not fully ready to reveal. But be on the lookout. I'll probably be coming on all the podcasts when that comes, but be on the lookout for
Definitely have you back on.
for potentially a new place to do comedy in midsummer.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
Late summer, maybe, yeah.
How's that for a little
Football
teaser?
season, yeah. So be on the lookout for that. That's in the works.
Okay. Well, there you have it, Trevor. Thank you so much for coming on.
Hell yeah, dude. It was fun.
Absolutely love you, brother. Congratulations.
Hey,
I
thank
can't
you,
say
man.
that enough. Congratulations, not just on the success, but the fucking sobriety, man.
Dude,
It's
last
beautiful.
time I remember I pulled in here and I was like, you guys have anything to drink? It was like 11 a.m. on a Saturday. And he was like, I think there's a bottle. It was like on the shelf. And I was like, run it. And I was sitting here drinking whiskeys at 10 in the
Pretty
morning.
sure that was episode 9.
Yeah,
And
you can see.
Like I said, it was the moon landing debate. I remember I came in with a stack of paperwork because
Yeah.
like I had an axe to grind.
yeah.
I was like, he's my friend, so I'm not going to like be an asshole about it.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
had so much facts that I didn't even understand, but were like the answers to the questions.
Yeah.
people asked.
I'm still on the moon landing, dude. I talk about it all the time.
The episode. I remember I ended the episode with, "Well, did we land or not? Who knows?" But thank you again for coming on,
Yeah,
man.
for sure, man.
Guys,
I'll do
check
it
him out.
anytime.
Thanks for listening.
This is
Till next time.
the Inquisitive Minds Podcast.